international development policy, forging partnerships around the globe. In the interview, German International Development Minister Gerd Müller.
Mr. Müller, President Joachim Gauck recently gave a speech that drew attention around the world. He called for Germany to play a bigger part in international politics. The foreign and defence ministers then jumped on the bandwagon. How does development policy fit in?
Germany plays a strong role internationally. We also have a strong chancellor. We have a strong economy, and we're very involved globally. But the question is, are we carrying out our international responsibilities? I think we are. That debate at the Munich Security Conference was about whether we should engage more militarily. I think it's since been put into perspective. We're contributing in Africa with training missions. But as Development Minister, I can clearly state that we don't intend to send in troops, and that policy will stay in place.
But foreign policy isn't just about the military, as leaders never tire of reminding us here. It's about taking on more responsibility. Don't development policy and foreign policy go hand in hand?
Development policy is really taking on a new significance. It's having a renaissance. As the new minister, I'm really pleased to see that happening. It's clear that we're getting more and more involved in an international context. Germany makes up more than 1% of the world population. We're facing global economic challenges. But there's also the question of human survival in places like India, China, and Latin America. These are the places in which we have to engage. We can get involved in these countries and these regions, and we're already well represented in them. I've just got back from a trip to India, where we've reached wide-ranging agreements on development cooperation. For example, we're helping India to achieve its climate goals. We're doing that by sharing modern technology, offering investment opportunities, supplying know-how and training, and providing a modern kind of development cooperation.
You've mentioned India. The development aid and the support there is essentially credit that will be paid back in the long term. It's as though this is something different from the classic understanding of development work.
I'm also not talking about development aid. Many people still have this idea from around 20 years ago that the minister travels around the world handing out money to finance humanitarian projects. That's not the picture anymore. Economic cooperation and development means partnerships on an equal level, especially in emerging economies. It's not looking down from above and saying we know better, but offering our know-how, our capabilities, the things that make Germany strong. We do this especially in the field of sustainable technologies, environmental technologies, green technologies. And we subsidize investments there, but on an equal level as partners. One new point of focus is, of course, our engagement in Africa. Africa is the continent of the future.
Do equal partnerships apply there? You were talking about newly industrialized countries. Is Africa different?
That's the German approach, and it's very much my approach. Africa is a continent 100 times the size of Germany. It has 54 states. You have to look at each country differently. Around the world, too much emphasis is put on crises and conflicts there. Of course, that is a dark side to Africa, and we're giving assistance. But I was recently visiting the African Union. Even when it comes to conflict, Africans want to and can solve their problems themselves. They've responded to situations by sending in peacekeeping troops. We're going to support them in that. But Africans don't want us Europeans or us Germans telling them what to do. And this cooperation is something we also put into practice when it comes to development. We don't take charge. We look for partnership on an equal level.
So when you launch projects, do African partners have input, the chance to say, this is what we need? How exactly does this kind of cooperation work?
Yes, we work together. Like I said, African nations are different when it comes to development and their forward momentum. We have several points of focus. I was also recently in Ethiopia. One priority is fighting poverty in those countries where there's an urgent need to do so. We work together to increase agricultural productivity. In the next 2 years, I'm going to set up 10 new projects in Africa that will look into how we can increase the continent's productivity over the entire supply chain, from the field all the way to the plate. And we'll examine how we can make sure the added value stays within a country, with the people. Africa has the ability to fill its own belly. Another priority is providing social opportunities, creating jobs, especially for young Africans. We have the best export in that regard. Training, 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 especially professional training. We're going to step up our outreach to German business, chambers of industry and commerce, and vocational training centres to invest in the youth of Africa. Also in higher education and university partnerships. Then Africa, with all its potential, its mineral and human resources, will be able to solve its problems on its own.
I want to quote something from your inaugural Bundestag speech as Minister. We want a values-based development policy out of ethical and moral duty, of global responsibility, and also of national interest. What is Germany's national interest in Africa?
Values-based development cooperation is grounded on modern humanism. In Germany and in Europe, we are fortunate and prosperous. We enjoy a wealthy economy. We have good infrastructure. We who live in industrialized countries consume 80% of the wealth and the natural resources. And we also cause environmental degradation. We should and we must take on the responsibility to help those who don't yet have the level of development that we enjoy. We should also do it out of Christian principles. We have to show solidarity and offer aid and development cooperation. But we also have a national interest. The key word is human survival. If we don't contribute to solving dramatic problems involving climate, smog, environment problems in India or in China with modern technology, then those problems, in the form of climate change, will come to our door. But there are also humanitarian problems and challenges. Just think of the Lampedusa tragedy. The pictures on television shook the world, and it's over and done with, but the situation remains. There are 50 million refugees in the world. If we're not prepared to offer them opportunities at home, they're going to head for the rich countries.
Development cooperation is always suspected of being partly about promoting exports. Export promotion in disguise. What role does foreign trade play in this sense?
Investments have to be worthwhile to a certain extent, but we're not thinking in the short term. Germany wants long-term partnerships and win-win situations. We're not going to Africa or Asia to do short-term business deals. Our ministry doesn't support that. We see the long-term possibilities. We see the results of contributing investments in relevant countries that will lead to profit and jobs in the medium term.
Before taking on this role of Development Minister, working on development cooperation, you were in the Agricultural Ministry. So in a sense, you were working on the other side.
As Agricultural Secretary, I was able to achieve these kinds of win-win situations. We succeeded by using modern know-how. We brought in our agricultural and biological engineering, indigenous crops, investment in training. The planet is capable of feeding 10 billion people, provided we use our knowledge on other continents as well as on this one.
Is there a success story you want to share with our viewers?
Definitely the humanitarian and social goals we're reaching together with our aid agency partners. I'd stress the issue of health. We still have problems, but we've made huge strides. We have to say that when we look at Africa, polio has been practically eradicated through the magnificent work of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other organizations doing great work, but also because of the development aid provided by states. But there's still a great deal to do in the area of health.
Mr. Müller, thank you.